Welcome to Awakening the Spiritual Mind. My name is Elizabeth Caillot and I am your host. Today we open chapter 13, Living What You Know, Walking the Soul-Led Path. And this is the last chapter of the book. Before we begin, I propose you to listen a passage from the book.
Chapter 13, Living What You Know, Walking the Soul-Led Path. At some point you realize, knowing is not enough, feeling is not enough. You must live it. It is not even enough to feel. You must live it. Wisdom that remains unexpressed becomes weight. Insight, if not embodied, turns inward and can quietly harden into self-judgment or disillusionment. Spiritual intelligence is not a moment of inspiration. It is a stance, a way of being in the world. It is the willingness to let your deepest knowing guide your choices, your boundaries, your creativity, your presence. Not just when it is convenient, but especially when it is uncomfortable. Not just in silence or solitude, but in the midst of noise, conflict, and complexity. This chapter is about that threshold. The moment when practice leaves the cushion and enters your calendar. When values stop being ideals and start shaping your relationships, your work, and your way of showing up in ordinary life. This is where the soul becomes visible, not through grand declarations, but through quiet integrity. You begin to walk in alignment not to be good, but to be whole, and your life gradually becomes your practice.
What you just heard is the hinge of this world series. Insight becomes weight if it is not lived. Many of us collect understanding like beautiful shells on a beach. Each one meaningful, each one cherished. But if those shells never leave the shelf, their meaning stagnates. Embodiment begins in unglamorous space. Pause before you answer a message you don't owe. In the boundary you reinforce without defending yourself. In the tempo you choose for a day but choose to run you. A soul-led path is not a crescendo of heroic choices. It is a string or right-sized decision that line up with the deepest yes you already carry. Sometimes that looks like stillness when the world wants speed. Sometimes it's a clean no that protects a secured yes. And here is a paradox, another one. The more you live what you know, the less noise you need around it. Back to the text now for a definition we can walk with.
What does it mean to be soul-led? To be soul-led does not mean moving through life with constant clarity. It means remaining faithful to what you know at the deepest level, even when that knowing is inconvenient, uncertain, or quietly disruptive. It is not about having all the answers. It is about living the questions from a place of integrity. You are walking a soul-led path when you pause before reacting, not to hesitate, but to honor the space where choice becomes conscious. When you say no, not from fear or resistance, but because something in you knows it would be a betrayal to say yes. When you say yes to what nourishes your spirit, even if it stretches you beyond what feels comfortable or familiar. When you let presence guide you more than performance, and truth matter more than approval.
How do you recognize a soul-led choice in the moment? I give you 3 clues. First, feel. Your body embraces, even if your mind is unsure. There is a space in the breath, a micro softening in the shoulders or belly. Second, the tone. The inner voice grows quieter and not louder. Less drama, more inevitability. Third, aftertaste. 20 minutes later, you feel clearer, not contracted. If a yes cost you your presence, it was not a soul yes. If a no leaves you mean or rigid, it was not a soul no, it was a fear no. Your compass is not abstract, it's somatic. The body will tell you if you are betraying or honoring yourself. And remember, being soul-led doesn't mean being certain. It means being faithful. Faithful to what you know at depth, even while walking through fog. Let's let the text say it cleanly.
Integrity does not shout. It is sensed, like a tuning fork quietly vibrating when words and actions resonate. It is sensed in the tone of your voice, in the quality of your presence, in the quiet coherence between your words and your actions. It is not perfection, it is resonance. This is why integrity is often more impactful than charisma. Charisma can impress, integrity transmits. Research in Authentic Leadership, Wallumbwa et al. 2008, confirms what ancient traditions have long known. People trust leaders and human beings who demonstrate self-awareness, relational transparency, and internalized moral perspective. In other words, those who live in alignment with what they value. You do not need to perform integrity. You need to live it. And you live it by staying close to your inner truth, not occasionally, but daily. You honor your limits rather than override them. You say what you mean, even when your voice shakes. You follow through on what matters most, even when no one is watching. This is the invisible architecture of coherence. Over time, it creates what some leadership theorists have called psychological trust fields. Subtle environments where others feel safe to be real, simply because you are. And the paradox is this: the more fully you embody your truth, the less you need to explain it. Even in silence, people feel the difference.
Think of the people who study you. You don't have perfect language. You have coherence. Your presence says you are safe to be real here. That is spiritual intelligence made visible. When you light your truth in smaller, repeatable ways, you create a trust field around you. Conversations simplify, decisions dramatize, collaboration deepens. Not because you control outcomes, but because your inner weather is stable enough for others to regulate too. That is leadership without theatrics, the leadership of alignment. Now, three outer arenas where soul tends to ask for change.
These domains, work, relationship, rhythm, are mirrors. They reflect the degree to which your outer world honors your inner knowing. And each realignment, however subtle, is an act of fidelity to the soul.
Realignment rarely starts with a resignation later or a dramatic goodbye. It starts with the micro moves that change the ecosystem. At work, 1 second block on your calendar that you protect like a temple. One meeting you leave on time. One deliverable you scope honestly. Relationships. One truth told without age. One boundary stated once, then enacted kindly. One request made before resentment grows stiff. Rhythm. One screenless hour, one evening that ends sooner, one meal you actually test. Small fidelity reconditions your nervous system. It teaches your body. When I honor truth, I remain safe. But teaching is priceless because it makes the next act of integrity less costly, and the next and the next. Back to a passage on the myth of balance.
These domains, work, relationship, rhythm, are mirrors. They reflect the degree to which your outer world honors your inner knowing. And each realignment, however subtle, is an act of fidelity to the soul.
Balance imagines life as plates to spin. Alignment imagines life as a vector, energy moving in a coherent direction. The schedule might still be full, but the drag reduces because fewer actions contradict your values. Ask a different question this week. Not how do I fit it all in, but what wants to move through me and what structures help that happen cleanly. When you change the question, you change the architecture. Let's practice together. If possible, close your eyes. And first, let's do a coherence scan. Recall one area when you already live your values. Notice how your body feels when you picture it. Name that somatic signature. Then process to a compromise scan. Name one place you say yes while meaning no. Where does that land in your body? Put a hand there. Third, truth to honor. What small truth is ready for air? Whisper it once to yourself, and then carry it. Visualize taking that truth into your next conversation. What tone? What tempo? What boundary supports it? And then open your eyes. Write one sentence you are willing to live this week. I would like also to give you a small daily ritual. Each morning, this ritual will last 5 to 10 minutes. Ask, what does my soul need from me today? Receive one word. That's your anchor. At midday, take 10 or 15 minutes and check drift. Am I moving from the anchor or from performance? Adjust only 1 degree. And in the evening, take 5 to 10 minutes. Light a candle and ask, where did I act from resonance? Where did I abandon myself and why? What do I want to remember tomorrow? This is not a productivity hack. It's a pattern of remembering. This path is not about becoming someone else. It is consenting to be exactly you, in public. Let your body be your compass, your values the filter, your soul the guide. No fireworks needed. Presence is enough. In your awakening journal or notebook, write freely under the title From Performance to Presence. Where this week will I live what I know, quietly, clearly, and without apology? Not one conversation, one boundary, one pace change. Thank you for listening to Awakening the Spiritual Mind. In the next episode, we deepen this path with practical structures that sustain alignment under pressure.